We've just taken delivery of this lovely new pile of ash-based ply. Look, 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 look. Oh God, it's heavier than you think. Look, isn't that cool? And that's going to be our walls above our gunwale. We're going to be doing that tomorrow. And for the rest of our lives.
Okay, yeah.
I'll do.
I do not like this. I think the best line on the lines that I did was the one on the left, because it wasn't curving in. The pencil wasn't curving in or curving out. When I got to about here, it was starting to do that, and I was trying to keep it as straight as I could.
So far, although we've got a good sort of method of cutting with the jig, we're just not that confident about the positioning, and we've tried a few different ways, haven't we? And this morning we were talking about it, and Jacqueline came up with this good idea.
Maybe a good idea, might not be a good idea. It might be one of those things that hasn't worked again.
Well, I think it's better than what we've been doing so far.
So what we're going to do is, we found the centre of this board. We're going to put a long screw through this that's at least that long, because the main issue that we have when we're trying to measure from the ply is, of course, there is the gap between the actual porthole and the ply. It's about that big a gap. So how you draw through that accurately and how you measure that accurately is a tricky thing. Put a screw through here that's at least that long. If not a screw, we'll put a drill bit or a nail. We'll find something that can give us something with a sharp edge that we can then press against the outside of the ply, so that we've got where the centre of the porthole will sit. And then we'll put a little pilot hole through. In order for the nail or screw or whatever that we use to stay as solid as possible, we need to also pack it around there so that it stays, it won't wobble around. So obviously if you've got a long screw, if you've got a long screw that's come through a piece of wood, no matter how solid it is still going to try and move around a little bit. Especially because it's not absolutely solid sorry, I'm talking behind the board again. Especially because it's not absolutely solid in the window. It's as solid as it can be and locked in with the little catchers. Doing it again. So we're going to crack on, see how that works. If you found other ways of doing this, let us know and point other people in the direction of it, because this is it's a pain in the arse.
It's a pain in the porthole.
It's a pain in the porthole. Mainly because we've got 10 of them to do, and they've got to line up, or that will look bloody stupid.
Yeah.
Won't it?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was so annoying me. Even though you can't really step back far enough to see, it would just annoy me, because I just could tell. I could tell. You can tell. I mean, we could tell when we did the other one. And so the other one was out by about half a centimetre.
Half a centimetre in the end, yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, it's out by almost a centimetre. We don't know. Well, we'd measured it all up. It was perfectly aligned and everything. And then when we cut it, and we cut it in exactly the right place to cut it, and we were super careful with all the measurements, it was still low by about a centimetre. So we had to, we had to accommodate for the top and the bottom.
Sort of recut a little. Yeah.
So we had to recut some. So now it's like this much out. Yeah, we're hoping that we can accommodate that slight difference when we put the liners in, because the liners have got to be made especially. We've made a bigger aperture so that when we put the lining in, and obviously we'll have to get the lining made or make it ourselves. It'll be at an angle that's why is it whenever I get in front of this bloody camera I can't speak any English?
Table. I've been mostly making tables.
So that the angle means that there's more surface area here for light to hit and bounce into the room. If it was straight on, there's still a lot of light that will come in, but if it's straight on, it would just bounce around here, whereas now that it's got the slope in it, it will bounce up here more. So we get more light coming into the room. But yeah, we will get the liners made, or we will make them. We may end up getting in touch with Colin from what's his channel? Colin Smith? No, that's an agent. So they look quite big. I mean, they look big anyway. I mean, even when we cut the first one to the right side, to the normal traditional size, and oh my god, it looked massive. Your David nearly had kittens, didn't he? But so now when we've cut it, even it's only 0.5 centimetre bigger, but it's 0.5 centimetre bigger all round. It looks even bigger, but it will make a difference. It'll make a difference to how the light bounces off it, and actually how they bounce off each other. How light from each porthole that's opposite one another is bouncing light back. Light is important.
All important things, yeah.
All important things. Oops. So.
Yeah?
Yeah, you need to lock it in place. It shouldn't matter, Martin.
I know it shouldn't, but
but it feels better.
it does. One thing that we did yesterday was to put a false ceiling panel up so we know how high we're going, and the other important thing, because this has already been up and we're taking it down now to do the porthole, we've put a piece of ply here so we can butt it up to this exactly where it fitted yesterday and butt it up to there. So in theory it should go perfectly in place, and when we bring it down and put it back, it should do the same.
It should do the same. It will do. It will do. It'll be brilliant.
Okay.
Although I did hear a little bit of a, what would Aunt Nexton say?
Okay, so I've got the
Careful
weight.
that we don't end up-
If you can just remember.
You've got the weight?
Yeah.
You sure?
Can you drop your end a little? I'm just trying to get this in. Okay. Oh, here we go.
Get my pops. You're right.
It's stuck on something.
Is it stuck on the nail?
There we go. Yeah.
Is it stuck on the screw?
I don't know, something back there. Something like this sticking out. Just bring it down.
That's what I was trying to say. Try not to scratch it too much.
Got loads of them.
Yeah.
Right, what we need to do is undrill this a little bit from the outside. Yeah.
And then screw it in.
And then screw it
Problem number 80,000. The screw sticks out just a bit too much, so it's now scratching the back of the board and stopping us putting the board in place. Which we thought might have happened, we just hoped it wasn't going to happen quite so dramatically. So Martin's gone through the back to unscrew the screw a little bit, and then when we've got the board in place, screw it back in, and we'll see how it goes. May work wonderfully, it may not. See what you mean?
Give me one of those little screws. I mean, it only needs one to hold it in place, doesn't it? That got it?
Yeah,
Is that tight?
bit more. Bit more. That's it.
Try again?
Yeah, let's try again. Once more with feeling. See, we did a whole. What?
Good.
I know you did. I heard it coming. How's it doing?
Hang on, let me just put my packer in. Yes. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah?
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
So I'll go back out. Yeah?
So are you taking the. Are you having a hand screwdriver?
If you want me to.
Or just do it really, really gentle. I'm just worried about putting a big hole through the ply. Because we don't want to put a hole through the ply, but we want it to be a pilot.
Ready?
Yeah? Oh! Out! Martin, stop! Oh, we don't need to put a pilot hole in.
Okay.
It might. I think it'll be fine.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Loopity doopity. We've got our pilot hole, and all we've got to do now is put some paper on to keep it nice and clean. What we're using is, for this bit anyway, is liner wallpaper, which is not particularly cheap, but because it's expensive ply, it's better.
Put the liner on because the saw will mark it. I have a lovely viewer who said put tape on the underside of the saw, and we did try that after he'd said it because we thought, oh, that's a brilliant idea, and I think it is a brilliant idea, except it gummed up our saw. So I think that's just the way that we've done it, and I think that it's, you know, a fault with the advice. I think it's just a fault with me and Martin. Don't you?
I don't know why she's on this.
So we've gone back to this. Creatures of habit. So you've made it flat?
Yeah, now I've got to loosen it off a little bit.
Do you need to loosen it off much? or-
Just a little bit. So it goes, yeah. Because there'll be weight pressed onto
Yeah.
it. So what I need to make sure is that the cabinet can come over this way.
Yeah.
Say.
Yeah.
We made this jig. This is our hole cutting jig, circle cutting jig, and we made this jig from a video that we saw on YouTube, a brilliant video. Go and have a look at it. We'll put all the links where we need to put the links, and it's Mr. Mystery Makes Tools. I think that's the name. It's great. It's a very short video, and it's just really simple. If you need to do circles, if you're doing portholes, you will need to do circles. Make this jig.
So we've got 10 portholes to do, and we just thought that this was a really good way of maintaining the size, and also it's going to be a while before we get a liner in, and so if they're really nice and round and nicely shaped, you're not looking at them thinking, oh, if only I'd have done that sort of circle a bit better. So that's one thing. The other thing
We
is,
might say that anyway.
the other thing is, one of the things about cutting a hole is that it's really easy for the thing to drop out at the last minute and tear the ply. With this, because it's slightly longer than the hole you need, it actually holds the ply in place so it doesn't drop because it's screwed in. Well, this one is screwed in. You can bolt it, and some people use nails. And the other thing about this is that you can change the size depending on what circle you're cutting.
Yeah.
So you can measure it out as he does in the video.
So yeah. Sorry, I just interrupted Martin again. Now about how he's going to kill me.
Not the only one. Go on.
Right. You doing it?
Oh, you can do it if you want.
No. I will be the guardian of the wire. I think that's it. If I'm sort of centre in the middle of that, that looks fairly centred.
Can we have
Oh
another?
no, we don't need the other one. Oh, okay. No, I'm staying in that. Oh, okay.
Le pouf.
Le pouf, le bant.
No, what I was going to say. What?
Oh, hello. I know it was. No, porthole liners.
Well, not the liner.
Putting the, the lining out.
We're putting the ply
portholes
in. So we think we're happy with the method that we've just used.
Yeah, it's great. I'm really excited. We've actually got this in and it seems to be levelled up.
Yeah. So basically, pinning it in, marking the porthole with the with this thing.
We like this thing. We
Me-
didn't scare the neighbour with it though.
And I think what that means is that we can then move this on to where all the other portholes are, and we've got a bit more confidence in that process. Whereas when we were starting, neither of us felt quite.
None of us.
Yeah.
David wasn't feeling it either.
And it was just about trying to think through the sort of process and around all the ideas that we did have originally, and going out and trying to market things like that, which
Which would work if we didn't have the brass in.
If you didn't actually have the windows in.
That works really well, and that's what a lot of people do.
Yeah. But yes, we think we found a method that at least we can now move on, and with some sort of confidence as well. Yeah?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Cool.
I'm excited because it means we can do. Oh, we've got to go today, don't we?
Yeah. The last thing to do on this piece of ply is a light switch, which will go here, and I've just marked it in. So unfortunately, it has to come down again to do that bit. So here we go.
Yeah. There's a big hole in it. You can't be worried about the weight.
It's not the weight.
Gavin might work from your little bit.
Picture in the sand, there am I, 100 miles between my hands. The best days of our lives, but when we don't know who we are, you and I, or that it would have been so hard keeping hold down this long, narrow road.
I am just filing off a little bit of this ply because the board that we're putting in, which is perfectly fitting everywhere else, is just a little bit snug here. So we've taken some off that bit and some off this bit because this is not quite straight. So we're just giving it a little bit of wiggle room so that when the boat's on the water, if it moves, it's not going to buckle up. That's what I'm doing. Hey, stop trying to push it over.
Need your way anymore?
Shoot a bit more,
If you want.
tiny bit.
Yeah.
That's about it. That looks about right. Feels right here.
So the plan is to see where that mark is?
Yeah.
We'll do get the frame. We'll have to pack behind there anyway. So
Yep.
it gives us something to work to. So we can take this one down and move it along. Yeah.
Oh, cool. This is what happened when our jigsaw basically gave up the ghost. Was working really, really happily, and then there was a few sort of goes where it was a little bit sluggish, and then it went and cut like this.
The reason for that was that this is our first jig, and this is where the jigsaw sits, and the blade kept slipping out of its guide and moving over to the outside. Usually the blade wants to bend to the centre as you're going round, but this one jumped out of the guide and was moving away from the centre, which meant that when it went round to join the first hole where we started, it was actually making a bigger circle than we wanted. If we'd have kept going, it would have just kept getting bigger, I think.
And bigger. And also the cut is at a big slant,
Yeah.
rather than straight.
Yes. And when the other thing about using a jig, you do have to be careful because it will, because the blade does move from side to side as well as forward and back. So it does automatically sort of move around in the hole. With our second one, we did put a little guide here to help prevent it sort of pulling to the centre. But this is the old one, and you can see it more so on the other side where it's actually burnt the wood. So, yes.
Fun and games.
That was the only piece of ply that had 2 portholes in it as well. So it already had its own complications, didn't it? Which meant that not only had we kind of wasted a sheet of ply, but we also had to, do all the measurements and everything again.
Yeah.
And make a new jig.
Buy a new jigsaw.
And the jigsaw was an old one, and because we had, I think it was 3 sheets left to do, we thought it would be better just buy a new jigsaw. So
Well, and the blade was jumping out of the actual sort of grip inside the saw.
Yeah,
It wasn't
yeah.
that it was just jumping out of the jig, it was jumping out of the
guide.
guide in
Yeah,
the saw.
yeah.
Which maybe there was something that we hadn't done, but I don't think so. I think it was just a 30-year-old jigsaw that had given up the ghost.
Yeah.
I don't blame it.
New jigsaw, new jig.
Focus. This is the last board. Let's get it on.
I feel there ought to be big dramatic music
No, they
over
should.
this. What?
I think they should.
No,
We can.
I'm not saying that anything's going to happen, but what's up?
No, I don't have it level.
And I think this one has also got a power. I think it's here.
Yeah.
12 volt. Not 12 volt.
230.
230. and I'm not sure if there's one there, but so I don't know if we want to look at that today. Jacqueline's shaking her head. What all ones are? I'll put the low ones back on, eh?
Dunno. I've never been so excited about a piece of wood with holes in it.